Another thing to add is we bought this Saab at 130,000 miles, and it's been pretty good since the rebuild.
See that? I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and this is really my car.
See that? I love driving it.
Hi, my name is Kyle P, and I'm going to do a video for you today.
It's recording.
Saab named Sebastian.
Oh! What's up, what's up, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for hitting it. Today I wanted to just chat a little bit about buying an old generation Saab that could be from 2003 and older, Saab 9.3 convertible and sedan, and the 2009 and older Saab 9.5s. So you're looking at the 2.0 engine and the 2.3 liter engine that they used in those vehicles. They're pretty similar, obviously, if you're not familiar. A couple little quirks and features that are a little different on each, but overall the same. So today, as you can see, I'm driving a 2002 Saab 9.3 convertible. If you subscribe to my channel, you'll see a couple other videos that I've done on this vehicle. Some are repairs, some are reviews, and I definitely, you definitely should be watching those if you are into it. I was traveling to the airport a couple weeks ago, and it was like 4 in the morning, and somebody from Johannesburg reached out to me on the other side of the world. And he was telling me that he was about to buy a Saab, and it was a 2002 or 2001, I don't remember the exact year. I had it somewhere around like 120,000 miles on it, and he wanted to know what are some things he should look out for. A couple things that I've learned through the years. I've been driving Saabs now for over 10 years. So I've been through the ringer on a lot of things, from transmissions to engines to every sensor in the world. And just to kind of cut it short and brief here, if you are buying a Saab, an old generation Saab, a couple major things that you should look out for. Always check underneath the car to see if there's oil leaks. If you see a little film of oil on the oil pan on either of the 2.0 or the 2.3 liter engine, it's almost kind of common practice. There's always some little oil leaking there, unless it was, recently repaired. It's either coming from the oil pan, timing chain, or sometimes from above. The oil pressure switch on these engines are above the starter motor, so sometimes if it's leaking from there, not only will you see it at the bottom of the oil pan, but you'll also smell the vehicle on a test drive. When you come to a stop, you'll smell the oil dripping onto the exhaust, which is a telltale sign that it's the oil pressure switch. Now, when you're looking at the top of the engine, you'll see that there's a black cover, or in a 2004 newer Saab 9.5, it's silver and black with the black cassette. And under the valve cover, if it's leaking, you'll see oil kind of around the oil, between the head and the valve cover, which tells you that the valve gasket, the oil valve gasket there, the valve cover gasket is bad. And another telltale sign of that is if you look on the driver's side of the engine, between the transmission and the engine, you'll see oil running down the side of the engine, like right in between, right where the transmission and engine meet. And if that's the case, what's happening is oil is actually leaking inside the valve cover underneath the cassette, and there's a drain that actually runs right on the side of the motor there. So the oil is designed to leak in there, or it's designed, if it leaks in there, to flow out that side so it doesn't hit your spark plugs and obviously puddle up inside the engine. So that's a few things that are quick that you should glance at for oil leaks on these motors. The other thing to check out for, the 2.0 liter was definitely much worse with the sludging issue at the time than the 2.3, but both obviously had sludging issues. And one thing that Saab or GM did at the time was they updated the PVC system And if you look at the motor in the back, and I can run through this here in a minute, you'll see a couple different hoses with directionals, and you'll see a check valve. And the check valve is literally right in front of the throttle body. And if the vehicle has a check valve, it's got the updated PVC system. Also, they updated the canister in the back of the motor. That update obviously will prevent engine sludge. Now, if the engine or the car doesn't have that update, I wouldn't even buy it, honestly. You're really risking a lot. The engine could have already started sludging, and even though it's running, there may be sludge already forming, and it could obviously cause catastrophic issues. As for the 9.3 and the 9.5, specifically on the 9.3 engine mounts, if you're driving the vehicle and you're at a stop, okay, and you accelerate and you feel a little rotation of the motor, okay, the Saab 9.3 especially is more sensitive to this because there's two mounts on each side that literally rotate like this, and when the rubber is no good, you feel it a little bit more than what it should be. So obviously pay attention to that. And as for the 9.5, okay, there's a damper in the back of the motor, as well as a mount on the passenger side that are very easy to feel and see if you're moving the motor, to know that they're bad or not. If they're bad, still buy the car. I mean, it's a very cheap, reasonable fix. Next thing I want to go over is inspect underneath the turbo. Okay, sometimes the turbos are leaking. The return lines are a common failure because there's a gasket. Make sure that's not leaking. Again, if that's leaking, it will also leak down onto the exhaust, so you'll smell it. The other thing I wanted to mention about the turbo is make sure you hit the car on a cold start, because if the car is on a cold start and you see some blue smoke or a lot of blue smoke, that's a sign that the turbo is leaking oil through its seals internally, and obviously hitting the exhaust and burning off. That's a sign of a bad turbo or an old turbo. If you're handy and you want to repair that, replacing the turbos aren't too difficult on these cars. It takes about 4 hours, 5 hours in your garage if you're doing it yourself. As for electronics, the 9.3 common failure is the relays. A lot of relays will go bad, whether it's for the air conditioning or for the high beams, so check that out. As for the 9.5, check into all of the bushings, the subframe bushings. If it's an old Saab and it wasn't really well taken care of, the bushings on the subframe go bad. It is not good. It not only does it ruin the ride of the vehicle, but it also bounces the motor and the transmission around more than they should in terms of vibration, therefore can create oil leaks and other damage to the vehicle that you don't even realize is happening until it actually happens. So make sure that the owner that you're buying the car from, or if you have the car, make sure that the mounts are replaced. Subframe bushings can go 150,000 miles, no problem. Engine mounts, 80,000 to 100, depending on how the car is driven. Those are normal age limits of those. Belts, serpentine belts, and tensioners, make sure those are replaced every 60,000 miles. In terms of the belt, the tensioner can probably go about 100,000 before you replace. So these are some things that you need to ask yourself if you own the Saab, if you've done any one of those repairs. Those are some easy repairs. Obviously, make sure that the vehicle's got full synthetic always on an oil change. It's kind of been common practice with these vehicles for the last 15 years. So whoever has the vehicle selling it to you, hopefully they've been doing that. If not, the engine will probably blow itself up because they're very sensitive motors. I'm trying to think, what else? In terms of purchasing a vehicle, if you're driving a convertible, make sure the convertible top's working if you care about it. Usually what happens in this situation of the convertible top is when it breaks, it breaks. I mean, there's like no control over it, most of that kind of thing. Air conditioning. 9.3, 9.5 air conditionings, they did do a great job with the ACC climate control system. They're pretty amazing systems in terms of functionality. One common problem on the 9.5, I know I had it on my 9.5, is the blend doors. The passenger side and the driver side have their own temperature control, which is actuated by a blending door, and those blend doors can break. So all you have to do on both the 9.3 and 9.5s is hold in the auto and off button at the same time, let the system run a check, and whatever failures there are, it tells you the codes. So it's pretty easy for you to diagnose that. Most of the time you can fix that in your garage, no problem. Some of it could be uncomfortable in terms of getting to certain areas underneath the dash, but again, if you're buying the car, you're signing up to do the work, and I kind of joke about that because if you follow me, you'll see I'm always doing something creative on these Saabs. There's always something quirky about it, but nevertheless, most cases it's never complicated to do. It just takes some time and patience, because obviously these vehicles are like any newer vehicle these days. Everything's kind of a little bit over-engineered, but hey, it works, so have the patience. Now, if you're looking to buy a high mileage Saab, don't be afraid of them, okay? Because most likely, if the owner before you has had the vehicle for a long time, they've run through a lot of these issues that I'm talking to you about already, okay? These are common issues that happen over age, especially when you go over 150,000 miles. Speaking of 150,000 miles, if any one of those Saabs that you're purchasing or looking to buy at that's over 150, ask to make sure or check and know if the fuel pumps were replaced. Around 150,000 miles is about the limit of the fuel pump. Obviously you can go longer than that, but I wouldn't even test it, because if the fuel pump goes, you're going to be stuck somewhere. Most of these old 9.5s and 9.3s are very easy to repair. I did a video on this 9.3. You have to cut a little bit of the frame underneath, the sheet metal underneath the rear seat here, to actually remove the fuel pump from the top. But in the 9.5, all you do is flip up the rear seats, and there's a flap and an access port that you don't even have to really do anything except unscrew a couple things and release the pump to fix. So make sure that you check that before you purchase the vehicle. Again, if it hasn't been done, it's like a $200 part offline. You can go to any Saab site or local parts store and order the parts. They're not that expensive. Again, probably a job that takes you an hour to an hour and a half to do. Really not a big deal. Again, time. But again, dedication. If you like the Saab and you want the Saab and it's in good shape, then by all means go for it. I mean, you gotta have some passion with these cars, because once you learn how they are, they're a true driver's car. They're a blast to drive, and when there's something a little bit wrong with them, you really know what's up. And if you guys have any questions, please leave your comments below. Ask. I'm always on my phone responding to all of my viewers, and I always appreciate the questions and the comments. And I also really love helping you guys. So I don't want to keep going because I can continue on with other things to look out for. But those are some of the major components I wanted to just let you guys know about. And other than that, good luck with everything you're doing. These cars are amazing. They do last a very long time if well maintained. And from there, I'm gonna let you go. I will see you next video. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe to support me and my channel. Appreciate all of you. See you next time. Alright, one major thing I forgot to mention, guys. When you turn these vehicles on, listen to the chain. Make sure it's not rattling or anything like that. The chain guides on these vehicles, if there's signs of sludging or lack of oil, they tend to stretch the chain. Therefore, the chain starts to make a rubbing noise on all the chain guides, which is a sign of internal damage from lack of oil, sludging, or any other things like this manner. Also will create noises on the top of the motor with the lifters and other items like that. So if you hear any of these types of noises, first off, don't buy the car, and second off, if it's your car, stop riding it, take it to a shop, have them pull the motor, or pull the chain out, redo the chain guides, and fix the motor. Thank you.